We are Internetwache.org, a project that we have founded some years ago, and we will talk about handling security bugs with responsible disclosure and bug bounty programs. Okay, so at first a short introduction. My name is Sebastian, aka Edgar Huxley, so if you would like to mention me in a tweet, use my nickname. Right now I'm a master's student at the TU Berlin, and next to it I'm doing a bit of IT sec freelance work. So yeah, when I'm not doing like professional work, I sit in front of my computer like that with a ski mask on, because that's what hackers do usually, you know that. And yeah, from time to time, or every week, we do a security meetup at the TU Berlin. It's open for everyone. It's called AG Rechnersicherheit, Work Group Computer Security. So there are some people, ex-people that I know. So if you're interested in security topics and to teach students, exchange information and techniques, how to hack, so people can build knowledge about security and build secure products in the future, then you should come and visit us. It's really fun, and we are really a relaxed group. It's cool. And another thing that we do as a student group is playing CTF, so that I capture the flags, hacking competitions where in an academic setting people or teams compete and try to find security vulnerabilities and fix them in their own code. So this is really fun, and I suggest you to try that too. Okay, so that's about me. Now Tim, my colleague, will introduce himself.
Yeah, also warm welcome from me. My name is Philipp Schäfers. I'm a cybersecurity consultant, so mainly also deal with security related topics, and I also wrote 2 books about it, one about web application hacking and one about Wi-Fi security. So if you're interested in this topic, just watch for it. And together we founded in 2012 the project Internetwache.org, which is a project with the main focus on reporting security issues. We started with web security issues like SQL injections, cross-site scripting, stuff like that, and later we also moved on to topics like IoT security and things like that. And we are actively participating in responsible disclosure and bug bounty programs. And that's also something we want to talk about today. And we also did internet scans, and in general we feel that it's important to make sure that there's a certain understanding of security awareness, because we will see later what can happen if you don't care about your security problem. Okay.
So I think this is no news to you, right? So you read all like the technical blogs and Twitter sources, so you know that hacks and security breaches happen every day. I could probably even say that one is happening right now, and people just don't know yet. So this is really bad. As you can see, some headlines on the right side. Equifax says cyber attack may have affected roughly around 150 million citizens of the US. So there was a data breach, and personal identifier information was leaked and then distributed. So we don't really want that to happen. So what's the problem? Okay, so today the internet is kind of big. We are already running out of IPv4 addresses and trying to switch over to IPv6. So there are a lot of devices connected to the internet, and probably a major amount of them should not be connected to the internet or exposed to the internet. So think of all the IoT devices that are not really secured. And so your washing machine having Ethernet port and being connected to your home network, and so you can control the washing machine from far away. Things you really need, you know. So what's the problem there? The problem is not that it's connected to the internet, but there's still security updates. So it's hard to update them sometimes, or they do not get updates at all. And if they get updates, not all of them are security related, because they do not care about security, and They don't even care about writing a security fix and then distributing it to their devices. So this will lead to other headlines, like in the bottom, where 2 million records were copied from T-Mobile systems. So how do we prevent this?
In general, that are not really big news for you. You all know that security breaches are happening, and a lot of companies also in the 90s thought, okay, we have to deal with that, how can we handle this? So the main idea is to integrate security from the beginning on. That's really the thing you should do. Do penetration tests often. So we will compare later penetration tests with responsible disclosure and bug bounty programs. It's really important that you have people who know about security, who are looking at your products, doing a source code review, stuff like that. And also consider running a responsible disclosure or bug bounty program, and that's the main topic where we will focus on in the next minutes. And of course, accept security reports and act accordingly. This is a screenshot from Twitter. Julian Ahrens, who is also a German security researcher, just reported something, and very often the response to those reports is that, okay, we spoke to the marketing department on this and they assured me there is no data leak at all. And we, of course, that they don't know who is responsible for this part of their website. And that's really bad if you just give answers like that and you really don't focus about your assets, so that you really know what you have and how to protect it or how it's dealing with the security of the systems. So I hand over to you.
Okay, so from our experience and from all the other colleagues that we work with on Twitter and the other security researchers that we know, we can deduct 3 major problems here. The first one is that security testing is usually illegal. You all know the hacker paragraph in Germany that you're not allowed to test any system that doesn't belong to you or they are not authorized to do the testing. It's understandable why, because things can happen and systems can crash. So this imposes the problem that people cannot do that legally. So what if I have a device in my home, for example, a door lock? Imagine I have a smart door lock that I can open with my phone, and I'm interested as a security researcher into the security of this device because I don't want any malicious party to just enter my apartment because they looked at the source code or they reverse engineered the application and found a way to bypass the authentication mechanism. So this is something that I would like to test and I would like to be allowed to test. I would like to be allowed to reverse engineer the application and see if I can find security bugs myself so that I can know and then decide if I want to use this device or not. And by the legal standards right now this is not allowed, but I think there was like a couple of weeks or months ago like a proposal from the EU that reversing should be illegal or something. I'm not up to date on that topic. But I know that a colleague of mine right now is going to a trial because he reversed an application and wrote some academic papers about that. So it's still a bit unclear. Anyway, that was problem number 1. So this is something we need to work on. And problem number 2 is that we as security researchers live in fear of conducting and publishing our research results due to problem number 1. So the major point here is, what do you do if you find a critical vulnerability in, for example, the door lock? Imagine I find a mechanism and exploit to bypass the authentication process. What do I do? Do I report it to the vendor? Will I face legal threats or consequences from the vendor because he doesn't like internet to other people? And on the other side, what is like my moral? Because I would like to inform people to not use this product because obviously it's insecure and they should know about it and then decide for themselves if they want to use it or not. So there's like the line, what should we do, what shouldn't we do? Yeah, will we get any legal consequences in the company? So this is a problem, number 2. And number 3 is if we decide to contact a vendor and inform them about potential security issues so that they can fix and update the devices, how do we contact the vendor? Or how do we contact the right people at this company? So we usually want to get in contact with developers or the security team of that company and not with marketing people as we have seen before, because that leads to nowhere. So yeah, how do we solve those 3 problems?
Yeah, and the major idea is just to say to people, okay, hack us, but please inform us about the findings you have. And that's really a way that many companies today are doing. You all know those kind of open source software projects where you really can go to the Git repository and say, okay, you have a bug in there. And also other companies, we will show some later, who are doing this. And this is really embracing the independent security work of people out there who are interested in making your product better. It's not about breaking really, but if they want to inform you, it's a great way how you can achieve something with your product and make some kind of quality assurance. And of course you can tell them what is allowed and where to test, and you say, okay, you have no legal consequences if you find something out about my product. That's really a nice way how we can deal with white hat hackers, to say them, okay, you can, go on. And of course you also have the possibility to give them monetary or material reward or Hall of Fame. So just put their name on your website and say, hey, they found something nice and it really helped us, so that we can develop our project. And by the way, SAP is also doing this. They have a contact site on the website where they are saying, okay, if you have potential security issues, just inform us about this. And that's really a great way how to deal with it. In Germany, it's often the way that you think, okay, we don't have any problems, we don't want to hear about problems. In America, for example, the people say, okay, talk to us, give it to us, and we will fix this. For example, I looked at Twitter a few days ago. There was somebody who said there are only 4 of the DAX companies who are really running a bug bounty or responsible disclosure program. So that's really a field where in Germany, for example, we really have to expand, and that more companies are shifting to this. These are some examples of companies who are running a bug bounty program. And by the way, at all of these companies, we also found security vulnerabilities. So actually, also the big players, they have problems. They have very good people, of course, but if you have a very big infrastructure and the patch management is also not that easy, then you're really interested in knowing what's going on out there and, for example, people who find bugs and report them to them. That's really a nice way how you can deal with security issues. And the other way, we saw that before, for example, the Equifax bug that was well known. It was a bug in Struts, Apache Struts, which is a framework, and the issue was well known, but nobody looked for that. And with a bug bounty program, for example, people can look for that. They find an issue, report it to you, and you can fix it.
Okay, so we talked a bit about bug bounties. So there's the keyword bounty. So usually that's a monetary reward or some kind of swag, aka t-shirts, stickers, or any other like nice to have things. But for us security researchers, or at least for us students, it's really cool if you get a bit of money for reporting a security vulnerability. And here you can see that Google shows by example how you should price vulnerabilities. So the idea is that people do not sell a remote code execution on a Google server on the black market for, I don't know, 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, I don't know the prices. But they are incentivized to report it to Google, and if they are the first person to discover the vulnerability, they will get a monetary reward of around $30,000 if it's on a highly critical system or endpoint. So this can really motivate to like do the right thing and report the security issues to a company. And yeah, so the amount, I don't know if you can see it down here or not, it's $100 for the least critical but valid vulnerability on a not so high priority application. And yeah, so the payout ranges from 100 to some thousands, and it also depends on the company. So maybe if your company doesn't have a lot of budget for security, then you obviously don't want to pay out 30K for remote code execution. Especially some people decide, okay, we do not want to pay, so we just do a responsible disclosure program. We don't pay any money, but give out some stickers or some nice swag. Or we decide, okay, we will pay out like a minimum appreciation fee of $10, $25, $50, something like that. And it usually depends on the criticality. So yeah, that is about that. And this is an example of a bug that we have found. So you could say, okay, maybe high critical bugs are rarely found in big companies. And that is true, but from time to time, people will find something that is something like that. It's not really on the same level as remote code execution, but what we have found here is a pass-through verbal. So that means maybe some of you recognize that there's a parameter pass, and then there was some file name from the JavaScript library that they included in the script tag, so they kind of read the contents from the file and displayed it back. So this was this, or the idea of this API endpoint. And what we did, we played around with that and found out if you put in the right number of // and then a path to etc password, then it will display you the etc password file from one of PayPal's main production servers. So this was kind of surprising, and I was like, what the hell? But yeah, I thought, okay, I'm a good guy, I'm a good boy, I will report that to PayPal, and then we got a kind of generous payout from them. And the funny thing was, the first fix was not so good, so we managed to bypass it again and get a second reward. So yeah, so this was really cool, and yeah, I spent some of the money traveling around, so that's really nice thing. Thank you, PayPal. Okay, so let's go on to the pros and cons of running such a program.
Yeah, for a company, it's obviously that they can reduce their security risks. So you really want to know what's facing the internet, where do you have vulnerabilities and stuff like that. And you also get some kind of reputation within the security community, because it's really nice when you are working with white hat hackers and say, yeah, hack us or let us know if you found some security issues. And also it's kind of quality enhancement. You can develop your project or products, you know, where you have certain problems, if you get those reports. Of course, it can also be a high workload. I know some companies who were doing a bug bounty program, and they were really surprised that so much people reported vulnerabilities to them. So you really have to allocate some workforces for that, you know, okay, there might be some reports within the first 3 weeks, which are really interesting for us. And of course, there's also a risk that there are false positives, which means that somebody's reporting an issue and it's not really a security bug, and yeah, that's not that nice, but it might happen. So you really have to have good security engineers who know how to deal with those reports. For our researchers, it's also obviously that there's a point of contact, because it's really hard to find a point of contact. When we were starting Internetwache.org, we reported vulnerabilities just to random companies. So we thought, okay, what's interesting? Let's look at newspaper websites, and we found bugs within newspapers' websites. Then we wrote them and say, hey, we have a vulnerability. And sometimes they don't know how to handle this report. So it's really important that you have a process for that. Another good point is that there are no legal consequences for the researchers, so that's very often within the disclosure agreements that you say, okay, if you report something, I will not take legal actions. That's really important for the researchers, so if they stick to the rules, they can be sure they don't have to fear any legal threats. And of course, as Sebastian mentioned, it's a possibility to gain money and also experience. It's really nice. We both participate in bug bounty programs. You really learn a lot. You see different frameworks. You can test out yourself and just try a lot of things. But there are also some disadvantages. You have to be the first to find a bug, because very often the companies say, okay, we will fix this, but they need a certain time. And if you are the second, then they say somebody was before you. And there's also a disclosure policy. Sometimes there are also private bug bounties, which basically means you are invited by companies to hack their systems, but you're not allowed to write a blog post, you're not allowed to speak about it. That's really not that nice, because we believe that the openness and writing about those stuff is really important also for other companies to improve the security. And of course there's also a high competition. For example, if you try to find a remote code execution at Google, first of all, the Google employees are also very good engineers, so they really know what they're doing there. And of course, there are also other people who are looking for bugs. So that's not that easy to be the first to find vulnerability.
Okay, so let's quickly compare classical pen testing to the programs that we have discussed before. Usually, if you do a classical pen test, you will invite a few security researchers, pen testers from another company, and so you hand them money, they hand you some people, and they will get to your local premises and test your network, test your application, test whatever you want them to test. So the scope is usually limited, like you say, okay, for this amount of money, for this budget, we can only test that area of the application, or we can only look for those kinds of security issues. So it's usually fixed cost, because you only have a certain amount of money allocated for security, and you usually get only one report at the end, and then you can work through all the issues and fix them. And so you do that every X months or every X years, or you do not do that at all. Depends on your company, and so this might not be the optimal solution. So what can you do? You can also do like a bug bounty program where you have many testers, like people around the world, 24/7, an ongoing security pen test or check of your applications or websites or network. You probably won't give those people internal access to the network and test from within, but from the outside, where the usual attacker comes from, can be tested. So that's one point. However, this is kind of voluntarily, because if you do not incentivize the people to test your website or your application or to participate in your program, then nobody will test it. So in that point it will make no sense to have that. And you get multiple reports. So as soon as one person discovers a security issue, they will report it to you, because they still have the incentive to be the first person to discover it. And then you get multiple reports. You can track them in your ticket tracking system and then fix them and reward the people, and all will be happy. And then you have a broad scope. So you say, okay, we don't want you to test just this little website, but please go ahead and test everything. Obviously that's up to you what you define that people should test and what not, but you can say them, okay, look for every system in our IP address range, and if you find a critical issue, then report it to us and we will reward you in some, with something. So what's the point here? I think the optimal solution is not like replacing classical pen testing with a bug bounty program, because this will probably not really work out, but to combine them. So both kind of complement each other. So you can do classical pen testing, have your internal network and the other things tested by probably highly skilled people, and then let the other low-hanging fruits or other things be discovered by people and white-hat security researchers around the world. So I think, yeah, we are good in time, and let's get to the conclusion.
I would also like to outline that Facebook, for example, who were really dealing with privacy issues, now extended their bug bounty programs, and they say, okay, if you find something that's violating the privacy of our users, also report this to us. So this kind of crowdsourced security work does not only apply to security, but you can also extend it to other things, like, for example, privacy, like Facebook is doing, of course, because of marketing reasons, in case of Facebook, I would say. So now the conclusion, responsible disclosure and bug bounty program can improve one's security, that's obvious, I would say. And as Sebastian mentioned, it's not a replacement for your own security practices, for example, that you also raise the security awareness for social engineering, stuff like that. And of course, you should do your own quality assurance, your tests and stuff like that. But it's really nice, so if you are in a company and you don't have a bug bounty program, talk to your security team and maybe a CIO or people like that, and say to them, hey, we really have to run a bug bounty program, because that's really nice, it helps your company and also researchers, because if you are also interested in it, you can participate in hacking just websites. It's really making a lot of fun, and you can discover interesting bugs and help companies by that. So that's what we are doing, and I think that was our talk. So if you have any questions, just let us know, and we would like to answer them. Thank you very much.
Is there any time left for Q&A, or should we do that later? Okay, so any questions?
Thanks for the talk, was really good, enjoyed it. Is there a web page where you have an overview of all the ongoing bug bounty programs, and are there people making a living out of it?
The interesting thing is that when we started in 2012, it was really like companies running a bug bounty programs and researchers on the other side. So Facebook and Google said, okay, hack us, and you can hack them. Nowadays, there are companies like Bugcrowd or HackerOne who are really doing a business out of it. They have a platform and do list the certain companies who are running a bug bounty program, and they are also helping the companies to sort out, for example, the false positive bugs. And if you go on hackerone.com, for example, you can see a lot of companies who are running a bug bounty program. And also if you just go on Google and Google bug bounty programs, and there are also websites who have a list. And to your second question, there are also people who make a living of it. Of course, there are people, for example, from developing countries where the amount of low priority bug is also a lot of money for them. So we know people from India and other countries who are making a living out of it. And a friend of us is now traveling around the world because he really hunted a lot of bugs, and it went well for him. So he can just have a year with traveling. So that's really nice.
I think also one colleague of us did like a challenge. Can I earn 100K within 2 months of bug bounty hunting? And I think he nearly made it. I think he made around 95K or something. And but again, that's usually a bit of luck in play with that, because if you're not the first person to find the remote code execution, you will get nothing. So the competition is high, and you have to be lucky to find the right endpoints.
And of course, it's always a question if you want to sit alone at home and testing websites all day long. So if you do that, you can really make a lot of money out of it. But sometimes it's also very interesting to have your peers to do other stuff, not just looking at Burp or at your web browser and testing all the stuff. So it really depends. If you really put hard work in it, you can make a lot of money out of it. Yeah, definitely.
Other questions?
So what has been your personal experience with companies that are not running a bug bounty program, but that you still want to be searched for some particular reason? Have you had any, let's say, antagonistic behavior when you actually find the bug, or is this more something that is a possibility but doesn't happen that often? I'm curious about what the actual likelihood of this happening is.
I think that depends on the company and their attitude towards security. So in the beginning of our project, we reported security issues to companies that didn't have a bug bounty program or any security contact page. And we got mixed responses. Some were like, okay, wow, that's cool, we didn't know that we have an issue here, we will fix it soon. And they even rewarded us some things. I think one company sent us a mobile phone or some other nice things to have, and some said, okay, can we pay you a bit of money for your efforts? So that was really cool. But we also had, we didn't really have a negative reaction. I think only one or two companies said, okay, what are you doing here, please stop this, and we don't want to hear about any security issues because we don't care. But the most companies that really don't care about security, they just do not answer the email. So you send something there or you call them and they say, okay, yeah, whatever, we don't really care about security and we don't know how to handle that, leave us alone. So yeah, at that point we can do anything because, yeah, I don't know, we can't fix the website for them.
And I would also like to outline that, for example, this bug bounty is just one part of the project internetwache.org. We are also doing internet-wide scanning. For example, this year we looked for .dsstore file, which was on web servers exposed, and we did a scan with the Alexa top 1 million. So the top 1 million websites, we looked if they are affecting by a security issue, and then wrote a blog post about the statistics, and also, of course, send some emails to webmasters so that they can fix it. And in general, the response is always very nice, so we really like our work.
And Oliver, please cut us off if we are done with our time. Other questions? More questions? Yeah.
One question from my side. Have you found something in the area of SAP?
Of what, sorry?
SAP?
To be honest, we thought about like having a look at the systems and websites, but we were still like preparing the slides until late night, so we didn't have time for that.
Okay.
But we will do in the future, maybe.
Good question. If there's nothing else.
Oh, okay. So yeah, thanks for your attention and thanks for the questions. If you have any other, send us an email or talk to us later.
Thank you very much.